Oh, that's very loud, so I'll calm it down. So thank you. First, thanks for hosting this wonderful event. It's really good to see former uh, peers and members of the transformation community. So let me get started. I'll have a two-part section today. I'll be talking about Kraft Heinz's overall transformation journey towards a self-driving supply chain, and then I'll talk about the role that '09 played within that transformation. I'll start a little different today, as a lot of the topics were already covered and they'll resonate with a quote. Begin with clarity of objective and guide every step along the way. And I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this Agile proverb, and I'll talk a lot about Agile today. And the reason why I have it up here is today to ask yourself, when you think about digital transformation, what is the most important part, or what is the most important word in this quote? And for me, it's the word begin. The idea in a transformation is you may not have all the answers. I think you need to set the objective and what you want to achieve. In our case, is a self-driving supply chain. And it's important to start your journey. We talked a lot about data. We talked a lot about principles and what we need to achieve. And you may not have all the answers, and that's okay, but you got to take the leap. So as you think about our journey, we took a lot of chances. We failed a lot, and we failed fast, and we learned from those failures. So let me talk about the case for change for Kraft Heinz here. The Sorry about that. Case for change here for Kraft Heinz. So we made digital transformation journey one of our most important objectives about 4 years ago. And we really defined it, just started with defining the problem statement. What do we want to do and why? So when I talk about the what, is really defining what do we need to do in terms of achieving our vision, and the why is what do we need to achieve to get there. As I talk about the what, is about achieving end-to-end integrated visibility. We want to drive automation and remove waste out of the process and the interconnected planning processes. We want to be results driven. We want to focus on service, cost, inventory, and we want to be flexible. If COVID has taught us anything 4 years ago, is that flexibility is key in resilient supply chains, and that was really important for us as we think about our transformation. And of course, we want it to be predictive and drive mitigate reactions, but that's only possible when you mature through your process. The why is talking about the stability of our operations, the efficiencies that we're driving, being proactive. I think that's easier said than done, as I'll talk a little bit later. That is really hard to achieve. And it's, of course, about optimizing cost. A big part of the why is also improving collaboration, internally, externally. I'm sure all of you have seen silos as you operationalize through your value chain, whether you're running an IBP, an SNOP process. It's about breaking those silos and then taking that externally as well and bringing your consumer and customer along the way and really empowering the workforce. The how talks about digital maturity. So we talked a lot about data today. For us, data and process really goes hand to hand. As we were defining our goal towards a self-driving supply chain, we really needed to have a mature process and understand where our data is. We talked a lot about data today. So I think this is really, really important. Once you have those foundations in place, you can get into disruption monitoring. If you think about your entire value chain, whether you're talking about materials, demand planning, supply planning, you're disrupting yourself once you have the right foundation to fix the problems that you have. And you're not only trying to fix the symptoms, you're trying to fix the root cause of those problems. Once you're in that stage, you can move to command center, and in our case, we have a physical command center that we operate in every single day to really connect the problems, the ecosystem, and execute against those. And then you can get to autonomous configuration. The logo right there represents where we are in our journey. Nowhere near the end, as this is truly a journey. Every step counts, so we have a long ways to go, but we have made long strides along the way. Foundational principles. I was in a strategy session about 2 weeks ago, and someone very wise said, you can't fix your foundational principles using AI. And I think this is how we approach this as well. right? We need to fix our foundation to enable AI to get to a self-driving supply chain and achieve autonomous planning. The first principle here is data. We talked a lot about it today, and the way we really view it is data is an asset. It needs to be governed, managed, owned. It needs to be maintained. So this, in the previous session, someone said, this is an everyday living and breathing thing. Data is super, super important. Garbage in, garbage out. We all know that, but it's a really hard thing. And nowhere near 100%, but we're continuously working towards that. Second part is process excellence. This is about increasing transparency and increasing focus on the mid to long term. We are a IBP house. We run a traditional IBP, and this is really about making the right decisions at the right time from a strategic point of view. So we continue, 4 years ago, we invested heavily in IBP transformation, and we made sure that our foundational operating principles in terms of process is really sound. Can it be better? Yes. Are we continuously improving and tweaking and understanding who's accountable for what part of the process? Of course. But it's a really important pillar for us. And the most important in our transformation is agile at scale. This really was an unlock when we think about digital transformation at Kraft Heinz here. So it's truly an operational mindset. Honestly, in the organization, we say it's our superpower. And what it really means is we invested several years ago in product-oriented delivery groups. So we have pods that are dedicated to specific issues within the value chain. They're focusing on solving issues, driving capabilities, and they're dedicated to that. In the case of O9, we have a dedicated O9 pod that drives forward the new capabilities, makes sure that we execute against the deliverables, and continues to evolve and get better. Okay, so now that we have the case for change and the principles, this is really part of our self-driving supply chain vision. So it's about a connected ecosystem. So everything you see on top is the value chain. Part of our vision is to connect everything from farm to table. So when I talk about end-to-end supply chain, I really mean we think about from the moment the seed goes in the ground, whether we talk about commodities, for the time we procure it to our value chain, plan against it, manufacture it, and deliver it to the consumer's table, we think about that as end-to-end. And we have a goal to disrupt ourselves internally to make sure that we have a seamless supply chain. Everything underneath that is a connected mesh. So if you think about the process before and the data, it's really important that these are super connected, and it flows through your value chain, and we make sure we address specific issues within the micro space of that. An example with O9 is waste management. A lot of our waste was generated because of poor bias or poor accuracies, particularly on our tail end of the SKU. So think of our C SKUs, low volume. A objective was to apply visibility. So creating that digital pod, making sure we have a clear defined problem statement, build the right alerts to execute against that, generate those alerts that really help that persona achieve those tasks that they need in that value chain. Then it's about action recommendation, mimicking that persona's way of working, and ultimately you get to augmented decision making. So if you can achieve that across an individual pillar and expand that, you can truly have a connected supply chain. And that's when we achieve cognitive decision intelligence. Okay, I'll kick it off to a video, and then we'll talk about O9 specifically. It's me.
Gauge Hive can derive an accurate expectation of what we should expect to sell, both at a SKU level, a location level, and can even get as granular as a daily level. Today, with 70% of our existing customers now reaping the benefits of Gauge Hive, we rely on our own in-house data science team, who has been evolving these custom AI models, allowing us to get more accurate results out of the system. Since we went live, we've already improved 5 percentage points of our distribution forecast accuracy. In 23, we're expected to double again. A key top 5 strategic partner has shared that we are far ahead of CPG competitions when it comes to data sharing, digital use cases, and, above all, forecasting.
In case you're wondering, that's not me on the video. But this video is from 2023, and it very much resonates still today in terms of the value that we're creating out of what we've done with O9, specifically around demand planning. Alex, who's in the video, he was right. We achieved more than 5% in 23, and we are trying to achieve the same type of value in 2024. The reason why I have this up here is it was so important for us in terms of value creation, how we measure value in terms of cash, bottom line, is that forecasting was a big talking point for us at CAGNY this year as well, really showcasing the value that we're driving with the implementation. In terms of what we did with O9 specifically. So, sorry, can you go back? Got it? Okay, here we go, sorry. So what we did with O9 specifically. So we really a 3-stage process for us. In phase 1, really in the early time, 2020, 2021, right during COVID, we did an assessment in terms of make versus buy. We made sure that we had the right foundations in place. We understood the problem statement. We knew what we wanted to do. And we went quickly into a go-live kickoff in 2021. And 18 months later, we delivered our North American solution. Phase 2 is really about scale. It's not only scaling globally, going into EMEA and eventually the full globe. It's also about scaling our capabilities. It's advancing in our machine learning models, making sure we optimize those, and continue to see value. And phase 3, which we're on right now, is becoming prescriptive. So in terms of what we delivered is we launched 5 business units in North America, 50+ planners, COE members, and 6,000 SKUs. But the real transformation didn't just come from the tool itself. We really enabled process transformation. So we enabled IBP transformation. We made sure that the tool is allowing us to solve problems within that process and making sure we're executing against what we need to deliver to our customers. Our process today is commercially integrated and driver-based. The solution that we built consumes data directly from our sales organization. So think about price and distribution as an example, and it feeds directly into our machine learning model. That does not mean that all our forecasts are using machine learning models. About 60% do, but the other ones can or may use univariate or machine learning light. I heard also in the previous session said, as part of this rollout, we centralized our demand planning organization. In 2021, we were decentralized. We were fitting under the BU structure, and we ended up centralizing this organization to get the value out of this and the synergies as we think about it. We also established a dedicated data science team and a pod team and a COE team to enable this transformation. So in terms of value, before I talk about value, and I think this is where it really all comes together, is there's 3 enablers here. Think about people, process, and tech. I mentioned from a people perspective, we established the pod. There's dedicated pod. During implementation, post-implementation, will continue to be a dedicated pod moving forward. We implemented model tournamenting. I talked about we have 3 different types of models that we use: univariate, machine learning light, and machine learning. But 60% of our forecasts come from the machine learning models. We standardized and improved our processes. So we really changed the way we go into the IBP meetings, leveraging the tool and technology to give it the best forecast possible. So what's the value here? So since we started this project, we delivered 11% in monthly SKU national forecast accuracy. The way to think about this really translates to working capital cash benefit for the company. Second part is SKU location weekly, about 14% improvement. This is about execution. This is about delivering service. This is about delivering cost. And we've seen a bias reduction of about 6%. So what we're delivering is improved mix, stable bias, and overall really, really good results for the organization. But we're not done. We have to look further out, and we'll continue to do so. In terms of actual value, is about reduction of inventory. We've seen 20% reduction or so in cash back to the organization, and a big hyper focus for us on losses. particularly when it comes to demand planning, looking at NPD and bias, so new product development. I'm sure everybody struggles with new product introduction. Traditionally, we tend to over-forecast. It's about that reaction time and how do we mitigate those losses because we're dealing with short shelf life items here. And of course, service, not primarily just because of demand planning, but improved along the way as well. And last but not least is user productivity. Part of the operating model with Agile is the user is along with the journey at all points of time. We do nothing without the user being part of the journey, getting their feedback continuously. And we're driving 3 things here. Number 1, we're removing waste, unnecessary duplicative meetings. We try to get that out of the system and bring that productivity back to the end user. Number 2 is we're hyper-focused on autonomous planning. When I say autonomous planning, what I mean is I want the result from the model to flow through the entire process and end up in our supply chain planning teams. And the last is NPS score. For those of you that are not familiar, is Net Promoter Score, and it measures how many promoters and how many detractors we have of the tool. So we're looking at, is the tool user-friendly? Is it giving me the solutions I want? Is it intuitive? Am I getting the right model output? 30 is considered good. So we're doing very well here as well, and we continue to focus on that. And this one I'll sum up before I go into the takeaways because I only have 2 minutes. So in terms of advanced capabilities, I mentioned think about it as people process technology. From a people perspective is we have dedicated data science team to continue to optimize our processes, continue to evolve, and think about where we can extract value. There's a direct connection between our pod, data science team, and COE team. They're connected to our processes, and they're part of the extended demand planning organization. Second part is about value. We, of course, measure forecast value add. We're hyper-focused on autonomous planning. As I mentioned, we're not done with our value. We're introducing new type of KPIs. So we're looking more mid to long term. We're looking at quarter out and including that in our IBP process and saying, how well do we know our business a quarter out? Can we impact cash and bottom line for the organization by bringing that to the executive leadership team? And of course, it's about collaboration. So it's commercially integrated. We are focusing a lot on collaborative forecasting with our customers and ultimately driving better consensus. Okay, and I'll close with this. So there's 4 key learnings when you think about our digital transformation journey and think about what we've done with O9 as well. Number 1 is, I think we're beating this to death today, but it's enterprise data as an asset, right? It needs to be governed, maintained. It really all starts here. Process excellence. I don't believe we don't start any change unless we're very clear on the process and we're clear design and what problem we're trying to solve. Next one is partnerships. You don't have to do it alone. This is a great example for us where we partner with O9 to achieve what we needed to do. This was not something we needed to build in-house, and we are able to leverage that skill as we go globally. And then last but not least, it's a journey. And we think about our path to a self-driving supply chain. It really requires a lot of discipline. I mentioned earlier, you'll fail along the way, but you got to fail fast, get up, and keep going. And you got to have the right milestones to enable your future, and you got to have the right support from your executive leadership team. So I'll end right here.